This is going to be my video review of the Saddleback medium front pocket backpack. This is the medium size. They have two different front pocket backpacks. This one is the regular front pocket backpack. There's also a thin one that exists on their website as well. This review, like my other reviews, is going to come in three parts. So this first part is going to talk about the outside of the bag, talk about the inside of the bag, and then overall conclusions. The dimensions of this bag, there are both listings for exterior and interior dimensions. The exterior dimensions are listed are 12 inches across, 14 inches high when it's filled all the way, and 9.25 inches in depth. The main pocket in the interior has an 11-inch width due to the two side pockets, a height of 13.5 inches, and a depth of 8.25 inches. So going into the outside of this backpack, I got this backpack for two reasons. First, since I've been a little bit critical of the newer tobacco color of Saddleback, I wanted to give it a chance, get a bag and see what the color looked like. Second, I wanted to see what other bags are out there beyond my squared backpack, which I love a lot. So I really like the squared backpack, and I thought this might give it a little bit more functional space on the outside, as well as a more collapsible interior pocket without extra pockets along the inside. So on the outside here, you have two large side pockets. So you have one on the side right here. If you look, it's unlined leather on the inside. It's not lined with their slade lining or anything. It also has a buckle closure to close down. And it has a decent amount of depth to it. If you can see, I can fit my whole hand inside. So it gives you an idea about how much you can fit. One of the biggest criticisms of the thin backpack when I was looking at these bags was that it was far too small to be functional or useful. So there's two of these, one on each side, exact same pockets on both sides. And then, like its name implies, there's a front pocket at the very front of this bag too. So the front pocket backpack that is secured by two separate closures, both of which are buckle closures. So you remove these two buckles, you open it up, and it gives you a much larger front interior pocket, which is roughly the size of this side pocket turned on its side with a little bit more width to it. So just slightly wider than that. But this is where you would be able to put most of your pens, papers, other miscellaneous items that tend to fall out in your backpack or bags. As they fall over, it's now secured in a pocket and you don't have to worry about it. The bag itself comes with two backpack straps for you to be able to hold it nicely against your back. So the bag that I got came from the era in which they stopped providing strap pads. They have started again doing it, but this particular bag came from a time when they didn't. I would say that this particular backpack strap design, I like it more than the tank. It's far more comfortable than the tank. However, it's not as tough looking as a tank. It's not as manly. It's not as much leather. It's not as many rivets. It doesn't have the padding. It just looks, a little thin, and it doesn't really carry the same kind of look the rest of the bag does. I would say without the pads, these backpack straps are still more comfortable than the tank. It's a little bit more comfortable with the neoprene pads over it. Not extremely so, but definitely much, much better. Either way, I'm a big fan of these backpack straps. One of the things I was a little bit disappointed by with these particular backpack straps is the actual length of the strap. So if you look at the second half of this backpack strap, how it connects to the bottom here, it goes straight from the shoulder strap down to just holes for you to connect it. If you get the squared backpack, there's actually a separate strap of leather that goes right in between where this O-ring is to lengthen the strap to make it a little bit longer. What that ends up meaning is this strap length is actually shorter than the strap on the squared backpack, which depending on how barrel chested you are, how large of a individual you are, this may not be enough strap for you to use. The other tough part about this is when this bag is fully loaded all the way up and completely full, the functional usage of the strap starts to drop down. So the strap works really well if you don't fill the bag up and it's less filled. So this actual back area is actually smaller. It's a very adequate strap length. As you start to fill it up, you start to realize that you wish these straps were just slightly longer, maybe a couple inches longer. So that can be a little bit frustrating. The bottom of this bag gives you a good idea of exactly how they incorporate backpack straps into all of their backpacks now. There is this individual buckle that is set at an angle. So that way the straps, if you look themselves, run across and underneath. So they don't dig into the back of your back like the tank used to. These new kind of from the squared on backpack straps are far, far more comfortable and easier to use. In different bags, they're placed in different locations. Like in the squared, it's further down here and it's more of an angle coming across here. So every bag has its own way in which the straps are angled. If you could look here, this would be how the shot from underneath would look if you were wearing the backpack, and gives you an idea that these straps kind of run underneath, gives you plenty of room here. There's also a piece of neoprene, if you can kind of see the angle here, right across the bottom. So one of the issues with the tank, if you watch my tank review, was that these bags were not very comfortable because it would dig into your back. The way Saddleback solved this is they use a solid piece of leather that folds underneath, so there's no seam here. And then they also put neoprene right here as padding underneath the leather to give you a little bit of additional padding. So let's talk about this handle here. It comes with a very simple handle. If you look here, it's just one piece of leather folded on itself and then stitched, allowing you to hold it very easily. It has a nice hand feel. For a backpack, it makes it a fairly simple handle to use. Unlike the squared, which has a handle right across the top like they would do in their briefcases, that's actually, riveted and stitched down. This handle is just incorporated into the actual rivets of the backpack itself right here. So it's just basically incorporated as an additional piece of leather over here. It works pretty well. It's definitely not a bag you can carry by this handle for an extended period of time, especially if you have it completely full. It gets a little uncomfortable, digs into your hand a little bit. I do like the design of the squared backpack a little bit more in that sense that it has a little beefier handle that you can actually carry that bag around by its handle, while this bag, it's a little bit more difficult to do so. You get a single front closure here, so you get their logo, 3 rivets, and an extremely long tongue here for you to choose where you want to buckle the strap in. The reason this buckle is so long is because this front pocket here is actually fairly collapsible. This leather is very loose and it collapses down, so depending on how much you fill this bag up, this lid can actually vary in how far down it is. If you use them, if it's completely unfilled, you would use the bottommost hole here, and it would be kind of folded down all the way like that. And you can see here kind of collapses down and gives it a really nice ability to fold over. As you fill the bag up, this slowly increases, very much like how the simple backpack does. Gives you a lot of variability in how much you want to fill the bag. However, if you look at this bag here, because of the placement of the pockets, this bag isn't going to fall over. The placement of the pockets gives it some structure to the bag itself, a little bit of rigidity, so it's not flopping over to the front or to the back, allowing you, no matter how much you fill up this bag, for it to sit by itself and not fall over when you place it on the ground. So speaking a little bit of the leather, so this bag costs same as a backpack would have when they used their velvet before the price increases. So this was their tobacco that they came up with. It's what some people refer to as a peanut butter tobacco. If you can see here, as I put it at an angle a little bit, you can see a little bit of gleam and shine coming off of that leather here. What you lost was that velvet feel that some people really loved about the bag. Now, I would say that this color was more of a compromise on Saddleback's part. What they probably got was a lot of complaints to customer service saying the velvet tobacco was too tough to use, that you had to be really careful, it was easy to make dirty. If you look at my other video reviews, that's one of my criticisms of the velvet tobacco, is that it's just so easy. It picks up stains, it picks up oil from your hands. If your hands aren't completely clean after eating some food and you touch your bag, you can see the oil stains from your hand. This bag doesn't have that. However, I think they went a little bit too far, which is how they lost a lot of the leather purists. They went straight to this kind of plastic coating feel that you see on this generation of bags, dark coffee brown and chestnut color, where you completely lose the feel of leather. You can't even really tell this is leather. It feels very much like plastic. Until this leather gets scratches, it's really actually difficult to tell that it's leather. However, conversely, On some other areas of this bag, if you look, for example, in this front here, if I hold the angle upright, you can actually see the stretch marks in the leather. So from the cow itself, you can actually see those stretch marks, changing the color of the leather a little bit. That's really beautiful, and that adds a lot of character to your leather bags. And when they started using leather that had these stretch marks, there were some people that left Saddleback saying that I don't really like leather that has stretch marks. I want pure leather that's unadulterated. Some people really like it because it gives you a little bit of history. It gives you a gradient in color, so you can kind of see, and it has this really nice ability to kind of have a lighter area and a darker area kind of naturally come out. If you look around this front pocket here, you can see the exact same stretch marks. They're going across this pocket, and the side pocket on this bag also has absolutely beautiful stretch marks you can see going across. And you can see that when this bag is produced, someone's putting thought into how they're going to cut along these stretch marks and how it's going to show up in the bag. That along the back of the bag and the front lid, there are absolutely no stretch marks. It's pretty pristine leather. So this is an area in the bag where, you're going to want it to be tough, you're going to want it to be uniform. But when you talk about inside the front lid where someone can enjoy it, or outside of, the actual pockets itself, it gives you a little bit of additional kind of visual change within the leather itself to allow you to enjoy it. So I will say that, this is not a bad move on Saddleback's part. I think this move in changing the color tobacco did cause them to lose some of their more hardcore fans and did increase the secondary market value of their velvet tobacco. It's not exactly a bad move. I mean, there are whole companies that base their leather color off of something similar to this. But in Saddleback in particular, I think it lost a lot of people when they did that. So that's really when people talk about the change in the leather, that's really what they're talking about. Not all bags have this pronounced of stretch marks. This particular bag does, and that's also part of the reason why I like this particular bag is I actually get to enjoy the stretch marks. If this was pure without any stretch marks there and just this peanut butter tobacco, I don't think that color would work well for the bag. But the fact that the stretch marks exist, I think gives it a little bit more character and looks a little bit better. So this is the first part of my 3-part video review of the Saddleback medium front pocket briefcase, backpack.